Here's Mark.
Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 Idaho West Board of Commissioners meeting. It's 9 a.m. and the first thing we'll do is, after the call to order, is approve the agenda. I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve the agenda.
Second.
We want to add a non-public session at the end of this, and I can think of a couple of different non-public sessions. One is employee and another one is reputation.
Okay.
And with those additions, how do you vote on the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 on the agenda. Approve of the minutes of May 13th. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the minutes of the 13th.
Second.
Discussion.
I didn't find anything.
The only thing I had was under my report, it says water dues and it should say water fees.
Okay.
And that was the only thing I had.
What are fees?
I found no typos. I just have a couple of things that I'd like you to see if it makes it clearer to the casual reader as to what we're really saying. We have our own internal lingo that shows up in the minutes, and if you read it from the perspective of somebody trying to figure out what we're talking about.
Yeah, true.
I'll give you my first example, see what you think.
Okay.
DPW at 1119, section 4. The water level at the dam is slightly below the band.
Yeah.
Doc Severinsen.
We've talked about the ban so many times that I don't think that people are not gonna know what that means.
What's it's 7 inches, right?
It's a high water level for the ordinance, right?
Right.
So
High water level
water mark.
marking?
The high water mark, yeah.
Okay.
And then in the next section, see if you
Water?
can make this clearer. Underwater, yeah.
Yeah.
The second sentence is, Mark observed 3 tanks that appear to work together to filter out the uranium. This is at the neighbor's water system.
Mm-hmm.
Tanks. They're more like cylinders as opposed to, if you're talking about a water system, you talk about tanks, I would think
Yeah.
15,000 gallon tank, these are.
But you did use tanks.
That's what I said, we use the internal lingo and then I
Okay.
see it
So
show
you
up in the
just
minutes
want
and I
it
say,
clarified.
yeah, people don't know what we're talking about when we're talking about it, I guess, but
So you want to change tanks to cylinders?
I think so.
Tank cylinders or just cylinders?
Just the word cylinders, I think,
Makes sense.
distinguishes between the storage tanks.
Yeah, right, true.
Then further down it says, Rock House spent 20,000. Do you remember, I seem to remember it was 27,000 is what the gentleman told us. Cause I noticed it was like, what stuck in my head, it was $3,000 less than a number that Simply Water had told us.
Yes.
So I changed that 20 to 27.
So, okay, so it is 27, you
Yeah.
Yeah, I
truly
think
believe
so.
that? Okay.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
So I wanna see what our numbers really turn out to be. That's it, that's all I have.
Okay.
So with that, how do you vote on the modified minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 on that. And at 9:05, we move to approval of the operations manifest for a whopping $396.69. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve this manifest.
Second.
I just wanna know what an oscillating drive bar is from HP Fairfield. Is that for a?
It's for the
spreader?
plow,
For the plow,
yeah.
how it oscillates, okay. And the rest of the stuff, is fixing a payroll deposit for you, a minor one, and street lighting for 200 and
Yeah, that's 2 months worth.
$227.
I never got a bill.
Mhm. So, all in favor of this manifest for $691.27? say aye.
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 3-0 on this manifest.
Why does the agenda have a different number for operations than the manifest?
Oh, I probably didn't update it.
69127 is the correct number, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I believe so.
so then the agenda should read
So my motion-
39669.
My original motion should change to
Yes, to
691.27.
691.27.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice catch, Water.
Yeah, I slipped another bill in there.
You're just testing us.
On the next one, I did a little searching to find the second part of the engineer's bill.
Oh, the water, now we're on to
Yeah, we're
water.
gonna move to water, so I'll make a motion to discuss and approve a water manifest for $2,190.23.
Second.
And we have, the engineer's bill was divided between two projects. And there's a second page to the engineer's bill that was for $900. The first part of the bill was for $720. The $900, I believe, was, the $720 was for the CRV, the
Como pressure zone.
Comazone.
pressure reducing valve on Como.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part was for Bergdorf visit and then coming to our meeting and
Yes.
follow up on that. And so, most of this manifest is for engineering, and then we have to make note of the fact that sending out a uranium notice costs the water system $570 every time we do it.
Well, a little less, because this, well, probably will be that much, because this is a two-sided letter versus a one-sided.
Yeah, it's like a $20 difference.
I think
That's
that
it?
we'll,
Yeah.
every time we do it, we'll send
That's
out a
it.
two-sided letter from now on,
Okay, just
just to,
updating that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went
our
up-
narrative, yes.
it went up a little,
Or it'll be the same,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
And I figure, if we do enough of these letters, we could have paid for the uranium filtration.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that's why we wanna get this installed, sooner rather than later. To save on that Minuteman press, they'll be so disappointed when we have that system installed.
All in favor of approving this manifest, say aye.
Aye.
3-0 on that. And at 9:08, we'll move to the DPW report. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so we got the trench in, as you guys wanted it. I'm hoping. I know
Terminology, swale.
it's swale. Hopefully you
Nicely
guys
done.
took a look at it and,
It's pretty.
yeah, I mean, again, my concern is foot traffic and ripping up that fabric.
Me too.
Dog prints and paws and,
You already seen them? Have you seen dog paws through it?
oh, I know people are walking across it, yeah.
The only thing I'm gonna watch for is how taut it is. Is that gonna be a factor? When the weight of the water gets on it, is it gonna be pulling on your weights? Or is it enough slack in it that,
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's gonna work as is supposed to, I mean.
the water level is not dropping too fast.
No,
It's not gonna take much. We're not starting with a
Oh,
low water level and
right.
heavy rain like the last two.
I need to knock on wood.
It wasn't like that.
right,
Two
well,
wipeouts.
kinda had some steady rain on and off lately,
And it's still
so
coming down off.
it's
off
still
the
running
mountain.
off the mountain, so.
Plus the ground is saturated.
Yeah.
We've had
Oh,
so much
yeah.
rain, the ground's
Right,
just
they've
saturated.
had snow up Mount Washington still, I mean, it's, so it's one of those things, but it's there and ready to go.
We're gonna get over an inch Thursday night into Friday.
Yeah.
It depends on how fast it comes.
Right, came down pretty fast Friday afternoon,
Sure did,
around 2:30.
with thunder and
So-
lightning.
We pari-mutuel betting as to when the swale first gets its
Yeah,
breach.
When it's really raining, we'll just have to go out and take a look-see.
but,
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Again, aren't there you got these bolts?
yes,
Yeah, so there are these bolts that are installed.
that hold it down, we made
That-
pins out of
Pin-
rebar
Yeah.
and,
And then put the stone on?
yep, so we
Yeah.
pinned it down with these pins that we made with rebar and some washers that Tony actually taught me a little bit of welding, so.
It looked great.
I got another
Yeah.
skill in my back pocket now.
All right, great.
I'm not saying I'm gonna weld a new metal table, but I think I could get us by in a pinch.
One thing I looked up that I didn't know is that a geotextile isn't waterproof. It's designed to let moisture through it.
Right,
Not that it matters for what we're doing, but I didn't know that.
yeah. Yeah, it kinda filters out the silt.
Well, if it goes under a road, if the water makes it through the pavement, then you don't want it to collect on top of the geotextile. It's just supposed to do tensile strength from side to side. But anyway, it passes water.
Yeah, so we got that going,
Thank you, sir.
you know, and then just been checking the pond levels, we put the board back in, knowing that it wasn't gonna be too
Okay.
heavy a rain, and it had subsided, so that's at full capacity, and just keeping an eye on that.
So the de facto way we're gonna do this, the way I'm looking at it, and see if you agree, you two agree with this, is, it's you and Water that focus on what's going on there. Is that if Jeff has any questions or issues, you're the lead person on that?
Okay, yeah,
It
sure.
kinda naturally evolved that way, I
Yeah,
just
that's
thought
fine.
we should maybe formalize that a little bit.
That's perfectly fine, yeah.
And over time, if it comes into next year and you two agree on any modification you'd like to see in the ordinance based on the reality of what you did this year, then you guys will tell us that you wanna see some kind of improvement to it, or not. Well, I'm basically saying, that's not something I'm gonna focus on, I don't know if Nancy wants to focus on it or
Okay, I think I spaced somewhere. Which ordinance are we talking about?
the dam level ordinance.
Oh,
As
okay.
you two
I'm still
feel-
focused on the swale. Yes, absolutely, yeah.
See what I'm
But
saying?
he's
Yep.
already has the autonomy for the time dates to pull the board and put the boards back in. And since I always look at, I'm always inspecting, and if there's a storm coming up and,
So we'll have a communication
yeah.
between Wood and I
Yeah, you-
on that, and I don't have to go
What I
through
see happening
Nancy
is
or
that-
you at that
Right.
point.
What is
Got it.
evaluating the weather forecast, and is the one that's saying,
Well, so is Jeff, but we've
Right.
That's what I'm
talked to each
saying.
other over the last week, and we're in agreement, other than Jeff decided to put the board back in earlier. I thought it could have waited another few days, but
Really?
it doesn't, in the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter,
Okay.
you know?
Right.
He was saying this was the good time to do it, had the availability, it was safe to do it, so those are factors too.
And just so everybody's aware, we did sign the policy that gives you the authority to change it if you need to.
Right,
So if something's unexpected
yep,
coming on, you can change it and then
right,
get the inspection done if you,
right.
you know?
Yeah, if I couldn't get a hold of Wood, or when I feel I'm
Right.
gonna take it, I'm gonna pull it out, and then, we'll kinda
Right.
communicate and go back,
Right,
and-
right.
Exactly.
If
It's
there's a
all
major
common
storm
sense.
coming and it's clear it's gonna go over the band, then, and you can't reach me, just do it. You've got
Right.
the autonomy, you don't have to get approval from the
Yep.
board.
Okay.
You just
Right.
do it based on, your judgment.
Yep. So yeah, I'm gonna go and I'll get the card, I'll get the picnic table for the summit. Maybe tomorrow Doug, cause Tony's off this week, while we're in between rafts, or after we get them done, one of the guys could come up, give me a little muscle, pulling it out and loading the other one up that I could throw in the burn pile. But yeah, so I'll grab that and, business as usual. I'm gonna, Ian asked for a little help today, like if they're doing some digging or something, so if he needs some material hauled off and some sand backfilled or something like that, I'm gonna give him a little hand. I'll take some pictures or.
You'll take pictures and let us know what exactly he's doing.
Right,
so I was just gonna ask you two, do you know where this work is being done?
No, I don't. Where is this work being?
Well, so we need to know,
Yeah.
yeah,
do you know where?
right now I don't. He asked if I was available today to give him any kind of trucking or anything like that, I
Well-
said that I was.
I'm assuming
So I
he
will
didn't call Jennifer, say there'd be a water outage to a certain part of the,
He said it was
That's it.
exploratory.
So it must,
Oh.
Okay.
I'll have to guess that it's Bergdorf or Aspirin to Bergdorf.
okay. Cause I think he's.
Cause it's gotta either be a hookup that you're not expecting to be done. You have work-
Unless it's the continuation of one that was left over, but I don't believe it is.
So, we should say that we need to know more in advance. So how do you know where to meet him?
I'm gonna give him a shout when I'm out of here. And see if he's ready for a load of sand or, then I'll show up with the backhoe or
Right,
truck with some sand or,
okay.
Is Tony in today too?
No, he's off this week.
Alright, so
Oh,
in the
that's right.
in the future, when he gives you one of these casual calls, oh, hey Jeff, I need your help with a little bit of whatever, start peppering him with questions, so.
Right,
You got the full knowledge, you can report it to us.
Right.
He's not always gonna report it to us.
You're in a pipeline of information flow in two directions, more than you've ever been.
Yeah, truly.
You're a two-way valve right now. You're gonna become a three-way
Yes,
valve
yes.
later.
but that's what I've got.
Okay, I want to ask you, where are we with getting a mile per hour sign, the 20 mile per hour sign at,
What, you need one more, right?
yeah,
Big Loop,
Big
right,
Loop
the
and
Big
Idlewild
Loop.
So,
Drive.
I mean, is that something, I don't know, I guess I should check in Coleman's, and do they sell, I don't really know. We've always got signs through some sign company back in the day, Nancy, I mean, that always went through the office,
Yep.
so I
That's what
don't
I'm saying
know,
is-
I don't know where to, I've
I
never
don't-
purchased.
I don't know. I
In
can
the
I've never
past, did you-
purchased the sign.
Did you order them as the administrator, or did the highway department order them directly, do you remember?
I used to order them.
So.
Build a sign is wonderful.
build a sign.
Wanna use them? I thought we'd use a heavier grade sign, but we can do that,
Who did you use for the signs that you had printed recently for
build a
street?
sign.
Yeah.
Oh,
They do the mile an hour signs, they're compliant with
yeah.
the, being
Reflective or
retro
whatever they need.
reflective or whatever the, you know,
Terminology.
the
yeah.
terminology, and they're the right size.
Any
Okay.
place that we should have another one that we don't have to put a new pole on for, they could put on an existing one? Cause I'm gonna make a motion that, we approve ordering, an Upper Lakeview sign for the town line, the Old Town Road end of Upper Lakeview, when you come up to that curve, that you know you're on Upper Lakeview.
Speed sign?
Right where the pavement ends
A
there.
speed sign or? a
No,
street
no,
sign?
a
Street sign?
street
Oh.
sign.
I'm gonna, when I'm ordering, and then I'm gonna, this motion's also gonna say, I'll order at least one 25 mile an hour sign.
Okay, great.
Okay,
20.
20.
Yeah, 20, yes.
And I don't know if you want me to order a second one while I'm doing it.
Just to have.
Yeah, cause I don't think there's anything on the beginning. I'd like people to know when they're on Idlewild Drive, coming down the hill maybe, that the speed limit's 20 there too. I'm gonna ask Jim if we can get his robot sign out there someday, put it right in the DPW driveway, so that when you're coming down the hill, nobody goes 20 there.
Toward
No, I
150?
know, you know, it's one of the, you get the bus sign there, and you get, you know, but like you say, you get enough, there's enough things to slow people down, but nobody slows down. You know, but,
So my motion is for, tell me if I should get one 20 mile an hour sign or two.
2.
I'd say
If you-
2.
If you have one on spare sitting in
Right.
DPW for later use, cause somebody ripped it down,
They
Okay.
clean up nice,
Yeah.
once the dust settles on
yeah.
them.
My motion is for two 20 mile an hour signs and one Upper Lakeview Drive sign.
Upper Lakeview,
Second.
Aye.
road sign.
I vote aye.
Aye.
3-0 on the signs. So I'm wondering whether we should change the way you attend these meetings. Like, I'm not sure you coming at the beginning, there's a reason for you to come at the beginning and get you out of here so you can go do stuff. But then, when we do our commissioners reports, I think there's things that he might wanna hear about that, particularly with all the projects that we're doing this. We'll see if we wanna change how that happens.
Like you have additional items for,
Yeah, once we get into these FEMA projects, I'm seeing
right?
details that,
Can't we move the commissioner reports right after the DPW
that's what I'm
report?
thinking,
So
is
that
that,
we move from one to the other, then
Then get me
Jeff
out.
Right.
can go back.
And then get you
Hit the
out,
road.
yeah.
we'd have to
Do
keep
you wanna do
up.
that today? You wanna start today?
Let's just, let me go through my list, and I'm often saying, well, I gave half of my commissioner's report when Jeff was here, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna start to make lists instead of trying to remember, and then say, oh yeah, now you've done your report, I have one more thing I just remembered. I wanna follow through on getting an inventory system for things like the battery charger, the big things that we're buying, a new tool, everything new that we're getting, I'd like to
Okay,
have a system for that, and
Yep.
we've talked about an engraver, and that would work on smaller stuff, and I'm thinking the full telephone number of the office might be the way we identify things. So if the police find something, the number's right on it. They
Right.
know, they don't even know where it's from, they can call and,
Yeah.
you know, when we answer, we say, oh, you called this number because it was on whatever was disappeared from the village. So I wanna, each week I'll bring up, and we all have to decide what the priority of these things are, cause I have a ton of projects that we've talked about doing, and the details of this, and watching the financing of it this year is gonna be really interesting. I'm looking at the amount of material that's gonna come out of these ditches. I sent an email to 2 contractors that the village has used successfully many times over the years, and asking them what their schedule is. And I took all of the roads of the FEMA project that, with the GPS coordinates and the cubic yards of material that they say that is coming out of it, and the size of the ditch, they specified the width of the ditch and the depth of the ditch, and it's hundreds of cubic yards.
Yeah.
We need an efficient place to, and I'm meeting with FEMA Thursday via video conference. And I'm gonna tell them that we're gonna maybe paying somebody to take this material.
Yep.
And I don't know whether High Street wants to recycle material, or whether we have to pay Coleman's Pit
I
to
could
take.
talk to Brandon, he may be interested.
That'd be good, if you put that on your list of things to do, ask
Yeah.
Brandon if he wants.
But didn't we also identify 2 places we could put it? One was our property on the Bristol
Well-
Stock Class 5, and then owner on the corner of
Right.
Aspen and
There's
Bristol
no-
Stock.
There's hundreds of cubic yards coming off Aspen. I need to take the GPS coordinates from the FEMA list and put it into Google and have it show me where these stretches of ditching is happening on these roads. Like, off the top of my head, are they talking about the backside of Aspen? Cause you guys worked one half of the east end of Aspen going up to where Aspen goes across and then comes back down the backside.
Yeah,
I need to see where the stuff is. So the guy that was interested in having his vacant lot take some of the material is coming back this week, and we wanna bring it to a lot and not go deep into the lot, but I don't see how we do that.
that lot there is not an easy lot to go
We
dump and
almost have
fill
to
at.
build a driveway,
There's
makeshift,
a lot of work to be done to do
and to
that.
do that, we'll be filling in our ditch to make a driveway, and it would need a culvert to do it right. And I'm also looking at these ditches that we're doing, is how many places does FEMA saying they're gonna reimburse 75% to ditch this 400 feet? And when we do that, are the culverts there already? Are we gonna say, now we need a culvert because we put a new ditch? We excavated across this driveway that never had a culvert before. This is where I need to now know where every piece of this is actually happening, go look at it to see whether we shouldn't do that part, or do we dig the ditch on either side of the driveway and leave the driveway untouched so that the water can't flow and go back later?
Well,
There's an
that's-
incredible amount of
There's a
planning.
lot to it, and there's a lot of culverts that, at this point, you know, I mean, we're redoing roads and ditching
They need to
that
be
need to be
replaced.
replaced. I mean, that flat part of Aspen that's gravel, there's a couple of small pipes in there
Yeah.
that are all metal and probably half rotted, and, you know, I mean, you go on that far, I mean,
Wow.
you might wanna replace those pipes, like you've always said, all the pipes in Idlewild are in the right places, but they're undersized.
They're half the size they should be.
You know, so I mean, you're getting into that type of a thing as well.
Right,
And they're 40, 50 years old, some of them.
Yeah.
This all sounds very overwhelming at the moment, but if I
It is.
recall, the priorities was Appinville, Hutwell, and West Bergamo
To start.
to start.
Start.
So why don't we just focus on those and where
Well-
we're gonna put the,
I am.
okay.
Right,
And
and those
that-
are ones that we're planning on doing as the DPW.
yeah.
Mark's talking about stuff that contractors are gonna
contracted,
do,
yes.
which are a lot more of like the paved hills and the paved ditch lines, or where those guys are gonna probably come into play and do more of the work. You know, that part of Briston Stock going down by Edelboat, past Edelboat, and looked like it washed a little bit from that rain on Friday and over the weekend, where we've packed some 6-inch minus in there at several times, and that's kind of eroding again, up against the pavement. So those are, I would believe, projects that are looking to be contracted out, cause they're a lot easier to do with excavators and the right machinery that what we have.
So I'm talking to 2 contractors, I sent them this huge list of roads with all the FEMA information, and I'll be talking to them for the first time later this week. They're getting to look at this,
Right.
getting the magnitude of it. And I'm telling them that I can fill any hole they have in their schedule this summer, and
Right.
into next summer. And they're interested. I haven't had the conversation with them. But as far as cash flow goes, if I send those two off, say Idleways DPW is working on Appinville Way, and we give 2 other roads for them to do. Now the cash flow is, we have to pay them. And we have to get the reimbursement money to keep this cash flow going, is that if they get way ahead of the cash flow of FEMA, they have to stop. Unless they're going to invoice us and wait for us to get the cash flow from FEMA. And if they have to stop, then there's mobilization happening, as the equipment has to leave the site to go do another job somewhere else and come back. So I need to talk to them about what their world looks like this summer.
All right, but part of the cash flow equation, this is gonna be one of these exercises we have to sit down with paper and pen, is the money that was approved during the annual meeting
Yes.
to kickstart the process.
Right.
Which we were gonna spend regardless of whether we get reimbursed.
So I see an Excel spreadsheet on the office computer that is shared through the cloud, so that the 3 of us can look at it at home. And it's the dashboard of what's happening with, and it's not gonna, I'm looking at this thinking that all of us need to be aware of exactly where the cash flow is during the entire process. We need all 3
Yeah.
sets of eyes on this as it goes. So, you get the picture of what I've been thinking about.
Yeah, can
Yeah.
that be incorporated into that cash flow report?
Well, the cash flow report and the capital reserve plan, capital reserve list of how much money is in the capital reserve, and the warrant articles that were approved,
Right,
all have to be part of this dashboard that I see we're gonna be looking at. This is the way we're gonna do it forever after all FEMA's over, is now it's part of what the Board of Commissioners otherwise does, unless some other board decides they don't wanna pay attention to the cash, but the village has never managed projects like we're gonna do.
Right, but I think what Jennifer's saying is we'd be looking at independently, these projects would be looked at independently, but then it would have to be rolled into the master cash flow for
Right.
everything.
Right.
Yep.
And there is a spot at the bottom of the cash flow, or the second page of the cash flow, for capital reserves, so we can certainly
Fill it in.
fill it in, you know? I mean, the spot's there, it just hasn't been filled in, with this year's numbers as of today. But that's something that can get worked on.
Then there's the stuff that fills the DPW's summer anyway, that has to get done, like the grading of the roads.
Okay.
Like, one of the things on my list is, Idleways Drive got graded, and we told the Big P Pond Association that's doing this study that we would tell them whenever we did work on Idleways Drive. Of particular interest, I think, is the fact that we put calcium chloride down, which is holding the fines from running off the gravel road into Big P. They want credit for, they can use our information as credit towards the financing they're getting for the project they're doing to try to protect Big P.
But only a discrete portion of Idlewice from, I think, the border between Madison and Idlewice, and then if you're going back toward Toosis Beach, does it end at around? I don't remember where it ends.
We did, what's concerning to them is from Big Loop to where Idleways Drive ends,
That-
past Thusis.
That's all I want to know, that's perfect.
That's, so, do you know the date that the grading in the calcium chloride was applied?
No, but I presume you took notes and can get that to us.
Off the top of your head, do you know the date? This is how we have to, we're changing the way we do things, is now we're recording
Right.
lots
I'm
of stuff.
pretty sure it's in the meeting minutes.
So we want, so if you can take that on as a task, is
Sure.
to see if you can figure out what the date was of that, and then,
Yeah, that's easy enough.
then send an email, we'll send an email to,
Sure,
the Pea Porridge Pond people and say, here's our first, notification that you can get credit for what we did.
Yeah, I've got it in my daily book. but
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
have
sure
that
you
book
do.
with me.
I didn't
So I'll-
expect you to, but.
Yeah,
I'll call the
either
office
one,
and leave you a
right.
message.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
but, I don't wanna nuke this thing, but I mean, still it would require, let's say, I don't know how much of Idlewice Drive you did, probably just the non-paved portions, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the non-paved portion where that starts down toward Little Loop or Boulder Beach, all the way to the border of Madison, that's a certain distance. But now we're doing from Big Loop to the border of Madison, that's constitutes, I don't know, 1/4 of Idlewild Drive, that you lay down calcium chloride? Third, I don't know.
I'll be able to tell you exactly how many feet from Google that is.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying, cause
You guys
Yeah.
nail down the date and I'll tell you what the
Sure.
distance is.
Because that fraction needs to be applied against the amount of calcium chloride applied, the man hours, and whatever else was done. So it's a fraction. Big fraction, but still a fraction.
So let's see. Old Town Road, the saplings that are in front of the signs there. I can try to get my chainsaw up there and cut those down, but I'm noticing that the trees continue to grow on these roads.
Oh, yeah.
And you know which roads, they're starting to really come into the roads. And with everything that we have to do that kind of stuff too, so.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where I'm thinking more and more this goes to contractors to do the FEMA stuff, cause
Right.
the world didn't stop for the DPW on regular maintenance.
No, and, you know, one and a kind of half-man crew is, you know, one, and, you know, me and a part-time guy is.
Yep.
Well, hopefully that changes
That's gonna
real
change.
soon.
Well, that's not something I've been aware of.
Yeah.
Or been part of.
So, we should probably meet with Jeff about that.
We should.
We should.
I.
Yeah, I,
I think you know what we're talking about, so.
Yeah.
But we need to meet with you formally.
When do you wanna do that? We're off
Thought we
for-
originally had said we were gonna do it sometime next week,
Yes,
so if we can set something up.
yeah, I seem to remember we was next Thursday, we're gonna meet with Jeff. If we confirm with him that works for him.
Right.
for you guys. How's next Thursday look for you? Are you gonna be here?
yeah,
Okay. 9:30 at the office?
Okay, we got our BOC meeting next week on Wednesday at 9:30, so 9:30 at the office on 29th, okay.
That's a Thursday. Okay.
It's the 29th, yeah.
Are you making a motion for that? Or do you need to?
Yeah, it's a non-public session.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we meet in non-public session at 9:30 on Thursday, the 29th with Jeff
At the office.
at the office. Employee-related issues.
Second.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Okay.
3-0, she's writing.
Aye.
Writing.
Gotcha.
Okay. Culvert vacuum. Jennifer reminded us that we haven't signed a contract with the vacuum guy. Should we move that date up? Should we,
what do you mean, like, make it sooner, or?
yeah?
Yeah, I'll have, I got just about every pipe,
You got a list of them?
yeah,
So, I told the guy to put a placeholder in for 3 days. 'Cause
Right.
3 days, we don't do any mobilization fee. That's without knowing whether we had 3 days or not.
right,
And I think Tony said that he didn't think we had 3 days.
yeah, yeah, we may not, I mean, I've found actually, I gotta go up Oak Ridge, but around everywhere else, I mean, they weren't looking, I mean, the leaves, you know, I'm pulling balls of leaves out of the entrances and the exits, but I mean, as far as being full of silt and stuff, they haven't been as bad as I anticipated. There is a pipe going up West Bergamo, right past the intersection of Little Shore, that's been an issue. I don't know what's going on with that, I gotta get a better look in there, but it's always full of water. It's just not flowing like it should. It's a big pipe that's got a little crushedness at the exit end that shouldn't be slowing it down, but there's gotta be something in the center of that pipe that's probably, it's an old metal pipe. But you can see when it heavy rains, it washes right past the pipe down the road. So there's something going on with that pipe.
So what
on
else
the
does this guy
inside.
besides clean out the catch basins? Just do the culverts too?
Did they flush, they suck them out and flush them out as well, the truck, I guess, is set
There's
up
a
to do both.
vacuum and it has a power washer
Right,
as part of this.
right. But definitely for the catch basins, but what else? That's what I'm asking.
Culverts.
Culverts.
They're gonna, yeah, flush clogged out culvert pipes as
What-
well.
What about where we have manhole covers? What about's in
Those are
there?
the catch
Those are the
basins.
catch basins.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this before, I don't know if you were here, there's a manhole cover on the class 5 portion of Granville that's sort of slightly ajar right now.
Is it a cement cover or a metal cover?
It's a metal cover, it's a
Granville?
round metal. Looks
That
like.
might be an air bleeder.
Yeah, that could be water system stuff.
Oh,
Where's that on Granville?
If you make the right onto Granville, you're on Bergdorf, and you make the right onto Granville, the dead end portion,
Oh, so that's
and
the
you go up about
class 5.
50
six.
yards or so, it's right on the side of the road. There's a metal manhole cover, and when I last saw it, it was slightly ajar.
So their plow guy probably had hit it or something.
you think?
We
Possible.
don't maintain that road, so I don't go down there.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you did plow that because there's several homes down there.
No,
No.
they have to do that themselves, that's class 6, so they're,
Right, but the manhole cover must belong to something we owned.
Yes.
yeah. But like I said, I
believe
don't
it's
go
part of
down
the
there,
water.
cause we don't maintain it, and this is the first I've heard of something being ajar.
Yeah, let me see.
Anyway, should we shoot to say that we'll try to agree next week on a plan and contract this guy and nail
Sure.
down dates with him? Cause I don't know if his world has changed since,
Right,
you know?
yep,
So that, we'll set that goal, we'll try to have that next week, so we'll see what you decide.
Before you go, I took a video of it, I'll show it to you,
okay.
just so you know, you can take a look.
Yeah, I'll go take a ride by after, I mean, I just, like I said, I haven't heard about that.
On my list of things is to get the snow guards up on DPW2 building
Yeah,
before next winter. It didn't do any good to have the box of snow guards in my garage last winter.
right,
So this year they're gonna be up before it gets cold. And I'd like a short discussion on this is how we get them up there, because I'd also like to get the Idlewild crest off the front of that building. Kerry said she had somebody that could rehabilitate, refurbish that sign, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I remember she mentioned there was somebody who could take the existing design, refurbish it, and we re-hang it.
So-
Get it off.
Should we do that with a ladder, or should we rent a genie lift? Which would be an expensive way to do a short project to get the snow guards up there, but,
well, are we hiring somebody to do those snow guards, or,
well,
Wouldn't that be like a roofing guy?
well, yeah, that's what I was wondering, I mean, you know, you gonna hire somebody to,
this is the discussion, yeah? So,
Yeah, I think we need a roofing guy for that.
and we'll ask the roofing guy to also take the shield down. And we have to put it back up after. So we want somebody that's gonna come back, do a two-stage thing. Do the snow guards, take the shield down, and then when the refurbishment happens, that they put it back up.
Okay.
Alright, so we're agreeing that we'll contact a roofing contractor to see if they'll do this.
That makes sense, because
We need to check
that's
the
what they
budget,
do.
where, that'll come out of general government buildings,
It will come out of buildings.
so we need a little budget review on
I
that.
know there is a guy off of, East Bergamo at the end that's a roofer. I don't know if he'd be interested, if he's busy or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I like the idea of contractors that live in the village get first crack,
Right,
and we'll see how they do with stuff, see if we use them on an ongoing basis. East Bergamo,
yeah,
Does he have a sign at his house or something? How do you know that? I'm just curious.
it's on the back of his truck.
That makes sense.
Whether it's his business or if he works for the guy, I'm not sure. I've spoken to him briefly a couple of times, plowing, you know, he's always thanking me and stuff like that, cause he's at the end of the hill on the right there.
All right, so if you're up there, just take a picture of his truck if it's there.
Yeah.
Send it to us so
Yeah, I've got the
we know
number.
how to contact him.
and that's everything on my list that had to do with, DPW stuff.
Are you interested in signing the proposal, or are you waiting to narrow down dates with Belmore?
That's next week.
Okay.
We decided he's gonna take his last look at what he thinks.
I'll look at more.
There are no dates. It does say 3 days or less.
Yeah,
See, we had something
So-
slated, I think June 16th, 17th, and 18th, back in March or whatever, when we first started.
Yeah.
addressing
Yeah, that was
it.
the placeholder
Oh.
that we
Yeah.
put together with the,
if you could have a list, I'd like to send him some pictures. Cause he said that the more information I gave him, he could give me a good estimate of how much time he thought it would take.
Okay,
Which would be, we've never done it, so we don't,
right,
so that'll be what we do, we hold on to that.
Yep.
Next week, we'll
Sure.
discuss it, and if you finish with the list before next Tuesday,
yeah,
get it to me, I'll go take pictures of it all and send it to this guy,
okay,
and that'll be good. The sooner we get back to him, the sooner that he knows that we're still
right,
interested.
right, get something lined up.
If you could nail down when Tony wants to do his first V-ditching on Appinville Way, that would be good.
Yeah.
That'll be the opening gun of the race.
Right, yeah, like I said, the last time I was in the meeting, at the library there, I think it was, or maybe it was here, but that, and they're firming up, I mean, the
Yeah.
shoulders were still
Slowly.
pretty soft, and soggy, so, you know, we
Right.
don't wanna get out the grader out on the edging there, but hopefully, you know, sooner than later, I mean,
And
he's chomping at the bit, or champing, whatever the word is.
Jumping. CHOMPING, jumping.
so one thing I can imagine is that we decide it's more efficient that we have a contracted 10-wheeler and a front-end loader, working with him.
Yeah,
That he's going down the road with his grader, doing the V-ditching, and it's coming out of he's cutting the ditches faster than a ditching bucket would be doing. And us using the backhoe, trying to get it into our 7400,
yeah,
not so good.
well, it's slower than it would be if you had a bigger loader and a bigger truck. you
So
know
this
what I
kind of
mean?
stuff, we need to see how it goes and make adjustments and get into some system where the two contractors I'm talking to have this stuff.
Right,
And depending on what they're doing, it might work out perfectly for them. Their excavator's busy somewhere else,
yeah,
and they have
Huh.
multiple dump trucks, and they both have loaders of different types.
yeah,
So these details we have to communicate about, which
Right.
is difficult.
yeah. Yeah, like I you know, and with 3 guys, you know, we could get it done with our equipment as well, I mean, like, you know, at least it works. But yeah, you know, I mean, if you got 2 guys working with them from an outfit, you know, a contractor or something like that, then the other 2 guys could be cutting limbs or something else,
Yep.
you know what I mean? So I know what you mean, there's busy work.
The filling of potholes with the, what are they, 1-inch stone do you
It's a
use?
3/4 inch
3/4 inch
stone.
stone? That works really well.
It
And I-
does, it squats out over time, but that gets graded back into the road,
I-
when the roads get graded.
I look at the roads and the way people drive, and I can't help but think that once we grade these roads with, you know, a good 3 inches of gravel on all of them, people are gonna be flying.
Well,
And
that's the downside to making it nice.
the people that live here
No potholes.
kinda know that when you put the 3/4 inch stone in, they can go pretty fast down the road, even
Yeah.
though it looks like it's a minefield. There's all these, in
Right.
England, they paint these zigzag lines to slow people down, instead when they're driving through London.
Optical
And
illusion.
yeah, it's the optics of what things look like slow people down. So they
Right.
put optical things in to slow people down. This, you're fixing potholes that let people go faster, but they slow down because they're seeing
they
these
just
things
see
on
the road,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm kind of liking that better than grading the roads.
Seriously. It's a good point.
And there's more to do. Like
Oh, yeah,
Big Loop.
oh, I know.
That needs it, and the amount of traffic that where the intersection of Little Shore Drive comes into the pavement at the flagpole,
Yeah,
that gets so much traffic that,
oh, it spins it out there,
Yeah.
I could put it
There's
in
people
today, it'd
stopping
be
and-
spun out by next week, you know, but,
Oh.
you know, those are those problem spots that just happen, but, no, I know it, the parking lot at Hutwell, you know, needs to be graded, we were looking at that last week, but again, the rain and things like that, and
Just brings it right back.
yeah, well, just you can't grade with rain-filled potholes,
Oh,
you know
true.
what I mean, when the potholes are full of water, you
Right.
kinda shut out a grading, so, you know,
So we need to find the sweet spot for what the DPW can efficiently do for the FEMA project and not let the normal stuff fall by the wayside where now it's stressful because there's other things that you have nagging at you while you're trying to do FEMA projects,
yeah,
which that affects the cash flow model because now we're doing more contractors. And now I'm even saying there's a mixture of contractors in the DPW doing parts of projects where two of you are doing one thing and Tony and the grader could be with contractors.
right,
You
it's
know,
a
that kind of stuff.
possibility.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, with the right 3 guys, we could get the ditching done at a fairly reasonable time. I mean, we've proven that in the past. It's just having 3 guys, you know, 2 guys over the last number of years, because it's not just last year, it was even prior to that. You know, we had no help.
Because it makes sense,
Legacy.
it makes sense that we will use Appinville Way as a starting point.
Right.
And we'll communicate on how that goes. We'll make
Right.
adjustments to what the DPW is doing based on what we see happening there. Because the village
Right.
has never done V ditching the way that you and Tony want to do it now.
Yeah,
And so we're gonna learn a lot in the first couple of weeks of that.
and like you said, having a place to haul it or dump it is,
You gotta get that, I
That's-
gotta,
Right.
we gotta nail that
and that,
down soon.
unfortunately, that spot on Aspen may not be our savior, cause
No.
we looked at that as well. And I mean, right when you mentioned it, I could picture it in my head, but the more we drove over there, it was like, oof,
What, to get it in? Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
get
it's
in
just
there.
so steep.
Yeah, it is.
You know, how do you get in there? You know, there's no way in, and
Wow.
I'll talk to him and he may have to have a plan that he has a contractor
do a little something to get
at
us in there.
there as the stuff comes.
Cause that's another thing, we get it in there and then it's gotta keep pushing it and making something
Right.
and, you know, so now it's bringing a machine over there and it's bringing it back.
So he has
or-
to, if he doesn't have a plan of what he wants his lot to look like at the end,
Right,
then we really can't do anything because the first thing we do is gonna be wrong
right.
and cause us problems. We
Yeah,
can't
we
fill
don't
our own
want,
Yeah,
ditch.
we wanna
every
avoid
time.
that,
Yeah, so
Right.
I'll
That's
talk
what
to
I
him
want.
at the end of the week and
yeah,
we'll see how that goes, what he wants to do.
yeah, okay.
That's all I have on my list.
Yeah, I don't have anything other than I tried sending you the video, it didn't go through, but although I sent you a still picture of that manhole cover.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's a 20-second video, so
Yeah.
before you go, just let me show it to you.
wow.
Then you can go check it out and
okay.
Well, if
Figure
it's
out
a
what it
jar,
is.
maybe we should lift it off and prove what's in there.
Well, like I said, I take a ride by, I'll go take a look, I'll stick my head in there, I mean,
We'll be sending you pictures.
there's a
I've been
gap
known to
there.
stick it in a few
I was
culverts and pipes before.
I seem to remember when they,
I
when they-
stuck it underwater a few times too, you know, I don't care.
when the contractor was hired to put a water main in, I wasn't involved, I wasn't in office at all. I heard the story after the fact from the contractor, is the water operator at that time made him put ductile iron in that area. And he talked about the pitch going up and down, and the water operator wanted him to dig the pipe down deep, cause he didn't want any arching of the pipe that would cause airlocks. Which on Burn Drive, the force main from DPW one arches, and we do have a bleeder. So the fact that I remember this story, and you're finding a manhole cover that's not a catch basin for drainage, that is not what that is.
Okay,
No, it is part of the water system.
okay,
Yeah,
Wow,
I'm pretty sure that is too.
all right, just,
okay.
If I
Doesn't-
could manhandle
doesn't mean
that
it can't
thing
get
back
put back
on,
and
I'll
put it back
manhandle it back
correctly.
on, you know?
yeah,
If I can't manhandle, I gotta get the backhoe and scooch it on there, I'll get, you
If you
know.
can take a peek
Right,
and put your camera down there with a flash
Yeah.
before you close it, that would be good.
okay,
Cause that would even show us if the pipe is ductile, if you
Right.
can even see that much, that would be good to know, because I don't think any of our documentation says one way or the other, whether that's high density plastic pipe or
yeah.
the ductile line story we
yeah, I
heard
just
from.
assume with that, this being cracked open, a scotch, there's gonna be a lot of water
It's
in
not
there.
even flush with the ground, which is why it's a jar, cause the plow is gonna catch it.
Yeah, well, you can see the
That's the
outside,
lip, yeah.
the lip and,
Anyway, enough of that culvert. It's gonna be the Wood and McNiven Memorial.
probably
Any
Well,
questions?
Doug's here, can I ask Doug?
Yeah, sure.
So, what are we on at noon or 1 tomorrow?
1 o'clock at Boulder.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. That's all I got.
We'll go
Okay.
from down to Thusis to make sure we get that one.
Right, right.
yes, that's
To
the
put
one that's prone
right,
to,
to put the
We'll start
rafts
putting the
in.
rafts in, yeah.
Nice.
benevolent
Today?
vandals, but
Tomorrow.
vandals nonetheless.
Right.
All right, I'll go
So
take a
tell
look at
Tony,
that.
good job, you guys did a good job on that swale.
Yeah,
Thank you, thank
nicely
you.
done.
Jack, give me 20 seconds just so you can see this
Yeah.
video. Because this did not, I sent you a still picture, like I said, but not a, the video didn't make it through, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a manhole cover that's.
I got a narrative too, huh? Look at
Sounds
that.
like
Documentary.
Okay.
The right of curved off onto a class 6 portion, come about 50 yards, right inside. There you
Okay,
Perfect.
Okay, there you
All
go.
right.
9:50, we're gonna go to
Have a good day.
water and, thanks Jeff.
Yep.
Water, CCR, the consumer report, is that what that is?
No, I think it's corrosion control something?
No, CCR is the
Oh, the
consumer
report.
report.
Okay.
And yes, Simply Water does it,
Yeah,
Consumer confidence report.
yes.
yes.
Yeah,
That's
but,
right, they've always done that.
I think she questioned whether she wanted us to do it or whether
Yeah.
they were gonna do it, they
But-
do it.
But beyond that, it's the whole lead line. There's a portion of it that includes the information for lead line information.
Well, we already submitted, that they gave us a spreadsheet and,
I haven't seen a spreadsheet, completed spreadsheet, put it that way.
all right, I don't know what they want. This whole thing is still, remember we got in a big discussion.
I
and-
agree,
Yeah,
but
and they said just ignore it because it's, not necessarily ignore it, but
Well.
it's just, it's gonna be an ongoing process for years and years and years and years. All I know is we have an established spreadsheet, which I modified to take off the properties that did not belong to Idleweiss. The spreadsheet was not created by us, it was created by Arcadis. It was
Correct.
one of the consulting companies hired by NHDAS, and the idea was that if we learned of any houses that had lead in them, we'd fill it out, but if we don't have the information, we can't fill it out.
So,
right, so
we're not gonna do
originally-
anything without talking to Ian about this, I
Yeah.
take it.
Correct.
And
Yes.
he's due here in 2 weeks,
Right,
so let's hold off on this.
I agree.
and
I
Very
agree,
good.
yeah.
Have a detailed agenda give
For
Ian a
Ian.
heads up of what you wanna talk about with that.
Okay,
and we can certainly, notify him at this point that we are expecting them to do the CCR.
And they do it anyway, but
She questions
She
every
did.
year
Every
whether
year
or
she
not
asks.
she's gonna, whether or not
she being,
Lisa
Okay.
at
at
Simply Water.
Water, yeah.
So I saw that question in the email and we should let her know, yes, we're expecting Simply Water to do this.
okay?
yeah,
So at 10:54, we look,
9:54.
9:54, we look at,
Phew.
10:54, I got almost run.
motion to adjourn. There's no scheduled appearances, so 9:54, we'll move to administrators report.
Yep, and we've got the 11 Bergdorf, application for a driveway back. They did submit their payment, so it's ready for you guys to schedule for the approval, inspection. To move, so they can move forward.
When do we wanna look at it?
You tell me,
Oh, this is inspection we need to do,
Yeah,
okay. Well, sooner rather than later. Take a look at my calendar, probably, maybe tomorrow, maybe? Let me just take a look.
tomorrow works, Thursday I have FEMA at 10.
Okay, 9:30 tomorrow?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Did you wanna recess this meeting for
We
tomorrow
will.
morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay with that then? Give you a chance to write it?
At what time did you say?
9:30,
9:30.
11 Bergdorf.
Alright, awesome.
It's gonna rain tomorrow? We can check out our new swale.
No, tomorrow's gonna be cloudy, no sun, no rain,
Okay.
or very
Knock
little
on wood.
drizzle.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about. So at 9:55, we go to old business table items, and the first one is a draft letter to the owner of driveway 24 Chicora. And that's one of these that you have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my draft. I'm submitting it for any modifications. Nope, this one right here.
Do you remember him? I think coming to the office when I
No,
was there
oh,
a few weeks
a
ago?
while back, yeah.
Yeah. Nice guy.
Yeah.
So, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve signing this letter.
Second.
Any modifications?
It's part of the discussion.
Yeah, if I were the owner of this, residence, I'd
Very
be
good.
wondering, well, are they asking me to do something? I don't know, this is sort of like left up in the air. Do we need to add something that?
My
there is-
intent was
there's no
to
need to do anything at this
We
time?
don't have anything to tell him what to do. The whole idea was that we're saying that there could be a problem with this and that we're watching it. And it's on record that we didn't see a negative grade, that's what we're concerned about. If it's not a problem, then it's not a problem, but it could be.
Okay, so after we say,
You could decide that you wanna say it needs a negative grade right now.
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, I'd like something like, and as you know, the village district looks to protect the public roadways within Idlewise and will monitor your driveway for any indication of damaging water flow from your driveway onto Chicoro View Drive, period. I'd like to add a sentence, at this moment, you do not need to do anything, or words to those effect.
That's cause we were there after a rain and we didn't see any negative effect happening,
Right.
Right,
but we weren't sure that it wasn't gonna happen.
right. But the point is, it could, in the future, something could happen where we go out with another letter, but
How do you like
at
word
the
his
mo-
sentence?
at the moment, you do not need to do anything.
You okay with what his sentence, Nancy?
Yeah. I don't know if we necessarily need it, but if it makes it clearer to you, then definitely.
Well, again, if I was this individual looking at this, what do they want me to do?
Then
And if I had
call the
something saying,
office and
at the
they'll tell you.
moment, we don't, well, that just, if we say don't do anything, it doesn't even need to call you.
I personally think that if he was looking for us to direct him to do something, we would have told him. In this letter, we would have
I
basically
don't wanna make
spelled
any
it out.
assumptions, I wanna just
Okay.
let him know that at this moment, you do not need to do anything. I think the rest of
And
it,
that's what you wanna say.
Do you wanna handwrite
At
that
this
short
time, we
sentence
do not-
on this and sign it, or do you want her to rework the letter and sign it later?
Well, if I'm adding it, I have to rework the letter.
Well, that's what I'm asking, whether he just wants to put it on as a handwritten note.
no, I think it needs to be
Okay.
a formal, proper
Yeah.
letter.
So we'll add the sentence
We
of
do not think
no
we need to
action
do
is
anything.
needed at
That-
your.
that- yes, no action is required at this moment. That's
Okay,
even better
very
wording,
good.
yes.
So our discussion has, we're gonna modify the motion to add that sentence to this
Yep,
and sign it at a later date.
Right, I like that. No action is required at
And
this
that needs a
moment.
second.
Second.
at this time, no action is required.
That's fine too.
All in favor of modifying that?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
And we'll sign it out of session?
Yeah, we're meeting again
Yes.
tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so next thing under old business is highway and parking ordinance review, continued review for modifications.
So I think I got everything in there that we talked about last week. You can see when we get to the point where we're putting a public hearing together and setting a date for the public hearing, you want to have the ordinance as it exists with what's being changed. And that's the way I set it up.
Like a before and after, or,
No, exactly the way I put it together with this is red, this is yellow.
beautiful,
Here's the current wording, here's what the new wording's gonna be.
yeah,
So in other words, the faded, looks faded here, this is gonna go away. And
The faded is the part that is, gonna go away, yes.
correct, okay.
And then the new is in gray on this picture. We could
Yeah.
possibly even do them in color for the public hearing.
yeah, agreed.
And there's a couple of things in here, like the original dates from the ordinance, when it was first put in together, because it existed way before the annual meeting of '23. I gotta get into the office, and I'll pull the old ones and put that information in.
Okay.
Would you object to doing it the traditional way of strike through in bold? Strike through is what's going away, or you have trouble reading strike through
I couldn't find strike through,
in
in
Word?
the newest version of Word that I now have. All my prior versions had strike through as an option.
That's bizarre.
It's gotta be there.
It
I
is.
just didn't see it.
They probably moved it.
And yes, that would be appropriate to do the strike through.
That way people immediately know without you telling them how
Right.
this works. So what do you wanna do today with this?
Well, wanted to see if there was anything that I missed or anything that wanted, an additional change. I separated road
Yep,
regulations from the parking regulations as we discussed.
Yeah.
yeah,
So that set up a new, section.
Okay, I can see one thing, I think, if you go to the fines, weren't we gonna up the fine for using steel track vehicles on VDO road shall be 100 for each offense? I thought we were talking again in the neighborhood of 1,000. We were gonna up that significantly.
I don't
overweight trucks.
think that's
The discussion,
$500.
well, all right, maybe, why wouldn't it be legal?
not that high.
All right, higher. In other words, the people who have steel track vehicles, well, I gotta get up there, I'll incur the $100 fee, who cares? It's cost of doing business. We're trying to look at something that makes them think twice about doing it.
I would tend to wanna ask the chief.
Yeah.
the number
Yeah,
would be for that.
what is a reasonable fine for using steel track vehicles?
Yeah.
Would they know upstairs what the fines would be? No?
No, it would be the police.
I see.
They know what their fines are, but we're asking him what we could do,
Right.
that he'd be
Does
fair.
Madison have, can we copy
And-
what Madison does?
And if the police,
Right outside the door here is all their fines, and you see they're all in the $100 range.
right,
I gotcha.
Okay, but I think we're kinda unique because of the hills we have,
That's
the
what I'm
hilly
saying,
roads.
is we wanna ask him what we can
Yeah.
do, not what they do.
right. And, for somebody to receive a fine, the police need to be notified.
Oh, right,
Right,
So it's not a matter of somebody saw somebody on a track, you know? The police need to be notified, and it's the police that get the fine.
right. Whatever, I just know we had that discussion, thinking that was just a pittance, and some contractors would just look at it as a cost of doing business and
Right.
disregard the rule.
Was there
Yeah.
a motion made and seconded on us discussing this? What are we doing?
no, we
No,
didn't
we're
make a
just-
motion, we're just,
Reviewing,
Okay,
yeah. I think Nancy's just looking for more input.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's my sole
So-
input, we can't really answer that until
yeah, we can
we
ask,
discuss it with the chief.
ask chief.
But otherwise, yeah, everything else
seem to go together correctly?
As discussed, yeah.
Okay.
As I recall it, yeah. Mhm.
Beautiful,
So we'll touch base with the chief and then review this again next week?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and then hopefully we'll be able to, set a
Date,
date for the public hearing and get that done, because we need 3 of them this summer.
right,
So,
Okay.
We can do them in the same day too, when you
It
get
would
people
be
here at one
nice.
time.
we discussed that a few weeks ago, and I thought we decided to separate them.
No, I think the discussion was, I was more comfortable, if we had to sit down, roll our sleeves up, and it looks like we're not at this moment, but if we had to, we just put our focus on one ordinance at a time, and that's it, and then call it a day, and then come back another time, reset, reboot
Okay.
ourselves for another ordinance and not worry about the one we did or the one that's still coming up. But as
Okay.
far as a public hearing, if we have them all set, I don't see why there's any reason not to discuss them all in one fell swoop.
It can get very long, that's
yeah,
the reason.
You know something, it could, but what we've seen is not a whole lot of people show up.
Well,
And
that's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
But the
But-
more,
but
the
when
more
that
things you're
happens-
changing, the more likely there is to get some people.
There's video of a previous board having the last hearing on this driveway, this
Oh, this
parking
whole
lot.
room was filled up.
It was the library.
Exactly.
Packed, people with
Oh, that's
masks.
Right,
oh,
Yes.
yeah, I can see that.
Right.
But that was a
so, so it can happen.
different era. And a different
Well.
reason.
But yes, yes,
yeah.
it's certainly something we can think about.
Okay,
I don't think we've made any decisions at this point, for how that's gonna
yeah,
go together.
we can revisit that, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with doing that.
So the way we're leaving this is, we'll continue with focusing on the highway and parking lot ordinance into next week, and we'll discuss the other ordinances after we finish this one, following that
Yes.
thing of one at a time.
Yeah,
Fine.
And then we'll decide how we're gonna have the hearings.
yep,
So next on old business is delinquency notice, unpaid water usage customers. Does this want a motion? What are we discussing here?
Okay, all right, you gave us a handout, and I guess there's 2 parts. We've got, if people are just delinquent on the current year bill, and we threaten to turn off the curb stop valves, then we have the ones that go on
that's very
years.
different.
That's-
It is.
This
That's
is,
very
this is for the long-term one.
This is the long term.
This is the one where we have 1 or 2
Yeah,
cases
this is the
right
one,
now.
yeah, there's 1 or 2 cases.
I just wanna make sure which one we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Correct, this is the one that would specifically be old enough
Yes.
that we'd be talking about possibly a small claims court.
Okay,
So we just mostly wanna have this in place. There is one situation that I think by the time we get to the 90-day of this year's billing, we'll be ready to, bring that to small claims. Cause I have, we have to allow this billing cycle to happen, but I don't think, there's been no indication that this person is gonna bring it up to date.
yeah.
Probably the best way I can say it.
So what do you wanna do?
Mostly just wanted to make sure this was okay. And if it is, then we'll, I'll put it together as almost like a policy for once something gets old enough that
Yeah.
we're gonna put this
Like
together.
a standard template
Right,
and modified, the amounts as to,
yeah, the addresses, the
yeah.
amounts.
So you ready for a motion?
Okay, so just to differentiate, I know we discussed this, but just to nail it. At the end of the first paragraph on this, your amount due as of this date of this is that's what's on our records as the bill with, let's say, I think we agreed to, we're up to year 2, so there's 2 years worth of, water fees.
Fines.
No, and plus
I mean,
fines.
yeah.
Late fees.
Uh-huh.
Late fees.
Yeah,
Where you go to the third paragraph, that amount's gonna include the cost of the small claims court. So it's
Third,
third paragraph. The other third paragraph, that includes additional costs for
Yes.
small claims court. Okay,
oh, I was supposed to add that, wasn't I?
some reason, yeah, we discussed what the difference is between the two amounts. So does that need to be further clarified as to why the bottom line amount is gonna be a little bit higher than the first amount we report?
Or we could just put including, or there was a,
we could just say associated
Yeah, do we,
court
I
filing
don't even know
costs
that,
and mailings.
yeah, I don't even know that we can quantify that amount.
No,
I think-
I don't think you could either.
I think we just need to say that will result in a small claims court that includes the amount you currently owe plus whatever costs associated with,
including any court costs?
yes.
Okay.
Cause we did talk a little bit about how we would want to send this like certified mail,
Right. Which was,
so there's additional costs with that. So you could say administrative costs,
all court costs and internal administrative costs.
correct. Covering all bases.
Admin and court costs.
So, did you wanna take the motion at the next meeting? After the final review, draft review, okay.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
So we have no signature items today. So we'll start into commissioners' reports at
Mhm.
10:13. So tomorrow I meet, Thursday I meet with FEMA, and I wanna see where we are with getting the auction green space letters out. Do you?
We were gonna go over it
I
together.
went yesterday,
I
I
know,
left and,
well, there was a lot
yeah,
going on,
wanna do that this afternoon?
of course,
Okay, good, we'll get that,
alright,
and I'll
so,
run them down to the post office
green
with
space.
the debit card and we'll certify those out.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the green cards and I'll have to check. Cause I might have to fill those out at the post office. And Jeff has a card. To purchase the picnic table. Okay,
There's no cost on picking those up, and they should be available right at the post office.
yeah, they are.
So you should be able to fill both parts. I used to keep half a dozen of them
I know.
in the office,
But I don't recall seeing anything
you know?
in that drawer, but I'll look.
Well, I
Yeah.
could get them out if, I guess I could just put them on my card and expense it, the certified mail. You're saying you don't have to pay for it?
No.
No, I mean to pick up the,
The
The
cards?
green card
Yeah.
that.
to pick
gets
up the
stuck on
cards and cause you gotta stamp them with the address,
We'll
you know,
figure-
and that type of stuff.
it. Yeah,
We'll figure it out this afternoon. All proper
okay,
signs.
yeah.
Um,
So getting back to FEMA, Thursday,
Thursday at 10. The Jungfrau generator project. I don't know if you want to have the commissioners do video meetings with Nick, or whether you want me to continue to send email and copy you guys on it. and the prioritization, we need to do a review of the water budget and the water capital reserves, cause we need to get numbers, if the priority is the Bergdorf water main,
Mhm.
we need to start getting numbers on that, we need to nail down whether Simply Water is gonna do phase one, which is to put in the three-way valves on Aspen and in the adapters on Aspen and number 5 Bergdorf. And we can't ask a contractor to tell us what they're gonna do the water main installation until we know that Simply Water has done that part of it, or whether it's not gonna happen against the schedule that we need it to happen on. And we're gonna ask the contractor to do it all. Go find where the water main is on Aspen, put the three-way in there, the adapter, and run the water main. Drill the hole under the culvert, get the pipe all the way to number 5, put the adapters and the valves on there.
Would the directional drilling be a different contractor? Do they have that kind of equipment?
No,
Who's they?
The couple of contractors, local contractors that the district has done many
they've done water mains
years
for
of
us.
work and done water for us.
No, I think that we should have them subcontract, cause they'd have to coordinate the timing and
Okay,
the,
so so
Yeah.
it would be a sub to them?
yes.
Okay,
So are we talking about maybe let whoever we choose to be the contractor just do the entire job, including the valves?
Could be, if we don't have Ian commit to a schedule soon, we gotta keep this going,
Yeah.
right,
And I think it's a priority,
yes. That's,
more so than the generator, so,
that's what I'm at, these kinds of things we haven't really had conversations about, is
Right.
prioritizing a whole bunch of stuff here.
right,
the way I look at it is what needs to be done for the cutoff valves and the water main, in my mind, is a lot more defined, we know what needs to be done. The generator is still an open question, whether it's gonna be a portable generator that we bring up in times of emergency, or a physically hard installed generator that stays at Jungfrau, we don't know that yet.
I have my opinion, I thought it was pretty resolved, but that may have happened, let's see, that happened in this room
It
with
did.
Nick here.
It did, but he said he was gonna take a look at it, and I thought it was, I think you're right, we were leaning more toward one direction
We didn't have an answer as to where it could go for a physical installation,
right.
and that's why he said he wanted to go up and take a look at it.
which he did, and I guess that's what I'm saying, did it happen in this room, cause we saw him after he went up there, we met him on
Right, we
Bergdorf.
met him on Bergdorf,
But I wasn't part of that, so
Right.
Right.
I don't have the corporate history there. So if he said that it's better to do a, one that we install, a portable one,
Yeah, portable.
I'm perfectly okay with that, it's just, I didn't know where we stood on that.
How do you, what do you need to have an opinion one way or the other? Do you need more information, or can we resolve this between the three of us now, is that's the way we're going?
What did Nick tell
You
you?
too, I don't know if you wanna think about it more or need more.
I think what you're telling me is Nick said that it's probably smarter to do the portable hookup.
Yeah.
Because that's not the only place that we could bring it.
That's right, you could use it for other
We could
locations.
have one on every pump house, and if that one lost power for whatever reason, we could bring it there. And it can be used for non-water stuff too, like the DPW garage, if you
Sure,
remember.
yeah, yes, I do.
I-
Then I'm perfectly good with that, it's a perfectly sensible solution.
I'd also like to get a shed and house this thing, I don't wanna leave it out.
Oh yeah, it can't be left outside, without a doubt.
And it's something that's expensive and it's on wheels, it can walk away itself pretty easily. It's worth a lot of money.
I think for Jungfrau, I think we can sort of settle in on the portable. For DPW, I would like to see a permanent place, permanent in place. And then the one that can move, we can bring it to Jungfrau, and then if we need it at Chicora, or if we need it at the Summit, if we need it at Jungfrau, at Rhinebeck, then we could move it around if we needed to.
I'm thinking the portable one may come in handy at the DPW one facility until we get DPWB well construction completed, and that should have a permanent generator as part of that facilities thing, but
Yeah.
Right,
we're talking about
Oh,
a
so
couple,
you're
couple of
thinking-
years.
so you're thinking,
Might be a couple of years before we have the physical one at DPW one. We don't start with the generator, we start by putting the well in. And then changing the way the chem feed room works for the new, so it can switch between the wells and
mhm.
the underground piping.
Okay. So is there also a question of like a transfer switch then at Jungfrau, or they've obviously put an emergency generator there before?
Yes, definitely.
But I don't know how they physically hooked it up, so,
When they did an emergency one, they cut a hole in the walls,
that I knew.
brought it through.
Right.
So this would have a
You would do a better setup.
transfer switch.
We would
that
need a
goes in.
transfer switch, so,
And then we
Okay.
discussed, the Rhineac control room should have had a transfer switch put on it as part of the contract, and I don't believe that happened.
cutting corners.
Mismanagement.
Okay.
It's not like we didn't save any money by not having it done. But anyway. And just to show you how sophisticated the planning can be is Bergdorf, right? We're gonna excavate in Bergdorf to run this water main. As part of the ditching projects, Bergdorf is gonna have 1,828 feet of roadway dug with a 3 foot wide, 1 foot deep trench with 203 cubic yards of ditching material coming out of it. Now, you would think that you would plan to do that when there were machines going 6 feet down, running a water main from Aspen to the culvert, drilling under the culvert, coming up on the other side into number 5, that the same company is finishing the road.
That's a very interesting point. I like
That
it.
we don't do the whole water project, then go back and dig the road up to take out 203 cubic yards of ditches.
Oh, so you're talking about combining.
Whoever
I
does
thought
the
there-
water project ditches that road,
Oh,
and
okay,
does
that's
the whole
interesting.
road.
Originally, I thought there would be a conflict between the two different, since they're two very different jobs,
Both
No,
companies do both
Both
things,
companies do both,
Yeah,
okay,
and have done both.
yes,
okay.
very well.
So, if that's the case, should that, remember we were talking about get the work going in year 1, but then we pick up in year 2. And a lot of it's gonna be contingent on whether we get the 75% reimbursement from FEMA to keep the cash flow rolling. But now you're talking about combining the new main and the cutoff valves with the ditching and work on Bergdorf.
Part of what I'm doing too is that if it's a challenge to do the cash flow management for the ditching with the two contractors in the DPW, the Bergdorf project for the water main is a different budget. So that's not eating into the cash flow for road maintenance
right.
that we have with the warrant articles and the capital reserves.
Right, I
It's a
understand.
completely separate.
But we'd have to tell the contractor that he needs to build this out in two separate,
Yes,
jobs.
And we could keep the contractor busy and not eating away at the cash flow if we needed to have them take a break from the FEMA cash flow for,
I guess my point was that might be a move up on the priority, like maybe that becomes a priority along the ditching on Bergdorf, along with the water project, and maybe Hutwell moves down. I don't know.
I wanna talk to them and say, this is what I'm looking at. If you were deciding, tell me, I've always done this with these guys, tell me how you wanna do it. And I'm just gonna see what's in the best interest of the village, if there's options in it, but it starts with them. And even Paul Fluitt loved the fact that I got feedback from the contractors before he finalized his spec, cause he had a lot of respect for the guys that are in this area and have dug into this ground. They know things that they've had experiences that he hasn't had, and he wasn't of the attitude that he knows everything. He was very good at that.
Okay,
It worked out well for the village that he was very good at that. So I kinda like, I like to have you guys, I like to have you get to know these guys too, which you will during this process. But we'll get into it with them, and then you'll know what's going on, and then you'll meet them and know them too, so that
Right.
you have a relationship with them yourself.
So that would bring up the thought process of a spec. So we're gonna have a conversation with them about what needs to be done, and then we'll start working on a spec.
For the water?
A specification for the entire project. So it'll separate the water main from the ditching and the final of the road.
FEMA has given us the spec for the ditching.
Oh,
The
okay,
GPS coordinates, the width, the height, the length of it, the
okay,
amount of cubic yards coming out of it. The only thing we have to do is tell them where the cubic yards are going.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, we're to
The
put
water
the-
is what we need Nick for, and for Nick to do the spec, Nick needs to know what's Simply Water gonna be doing and when. And what is it that ends up being in the contract for the water main
For
installation.
the water main, okay,
And that's why I'm saying we need to nail down, so we can tell Nick what Simply Water's doing. We don't know yet, we need to know that in the next, by 2 weeks from now when he comes. That's another thing that he should be prepared to tell us. We don't even know if he's doing the exploratory now. He's ahead of us, he's gonna be able,
right,
right? There's a chance he's already working on it. Be good to know.
okay. So is that something that we wanna have, Jennifer inquire with Simply Water? As to, does he have a thought process of a time frame for putting the isolation valves at Aspen and Bergdorf?
Whoever talks to Jeff is gonna learn where is Jeff right now and what's he doing for Simply Water. He didn't know, he was gonna call him when he left here
Right.
to find out. This is no way to run an airline. So first piece of information is Jeff tells us what he found out after he left here. And if we call Jeff, we can even ask him where they are, and I could even go talk to them today.
Yeah.
when I produce the times for the next meetings coming up next month, I always send notification to Ian separately
Uh-huh.
about when we expect him to come. I can also include whatever it is that cause he wants that
Yeah.
anyway. He wants to be told what it is we expect,
Him to be
Of
aware
him
of,
to
you know, to
provide.
be working on or to
Correct.
coming across with us.
so
So-
that's
so
not,
that's-
that's something that
He's
can
really
be
been
done.
enjoying that he's not blindsided when he comes.
Right,
Exactly.
right, so I think that's something that we should
Fair
at
to
least
do.
send it through on email, and if we have additional information prior to that, well then that's a bonus.
Right,
So, when we stop this meeting, which we will sometime, I know it's gonna happen, we're gonna have a non-public session.
Yeah.
And then, which we
Any
need to do
recess.
before Water, we
Leaves.
need Water here.
right.
Then we need to take care of Dinah and
Uh-huh.
Jake. And then I need to find out where Jeff is, and then I need to meet you
For
For
the
the
green
au-
space, yep.
auction letters. So we need to move because we can't have you turn into a pumpkin before we go into non-public session.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
I don't have anything to report if you're finished with your report.
Yeah.
Other than-
The summit roof and installation is on my list. That priority has stayed down low, and it's gonna continue to stay down low, but I'm keeping it on my list. We need to look at that roof, we're gonna talk to a roofer,
Yeah, exactly,
to a
if we're gonna
roofer
talk to
anyway
a
for the-
roofer, then we should talk to the roofer.
and we wanna ultimately take the fiberglass insulation out of that building and replace it with blown in.
Yes,
Is this the cabana you're talking about?
Summit
no,
station.
the summit,
Summit.
Waterhouse.
Summit, what?
Pump house.
Pump
Oh.
house. We need to just have a rough idea between us, shared kind of tentative schedule of when we think we're gonna have the uranium treatment installed. Is that happening this year, complete installation?
I would hope so,
Yeah, why not? Let's get it done.
So we'll start talking that way to
Yes.
each other. and that's something else we need to.
Did we already,
Yeah, well,
ask Nick to come back with a, sort of a high-level plan?
Simply Water asked for a $500 budget to do the next level of water testing, and that was gonna be what they
Was
thought
gonna
Nick was
use.
gonna need and start the ball rolling on specifying this, and
right,
so.
so that he
Um,
knew what
That's on the
size.
list of things that we need to have Ian prepared to
Yep.
talk about in 2 weeks. So that's where that subject stays for
Yep.
now.
Yep,
That's in the front burner.
Yep.
And you'll be able to explain this to the Idleways property owners Saturday morning. All of this.
Uh-huh.
Everything we're discussing here.
Of course.
I'll have a coffee and donut and watch you.
We'll talk to anyone that's there and say, any questions?
Yeah.
Have we divvied up who's gonna talk about what?
We have not yet.
Okay,
After you leave.
We might do that tomorrow.
yeah, right, if the person's on here, he'll do it, he'll do it.
Yeah.
And then Friday night, oh, by the way, this is what you're talking about tomorrow morning.
Saturday morning, we tell you.
He's military, he's used to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You weren't here, it's yours.
Incoming.
I can tap dance for the best of them.
Well,
I'll be talking in code, but nonetheless.
We'll give you a commissioner's report in code.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I don't have anything other than, I know I owe you a piece of paperwork to submit to NHDS. but
yes,
anything-
thank you.
Yes, I got, it's on my list.
Okay, and the only thing I had was, I did send around, cause we didn't talk about it last week. I updated the motions log to include last week's, and I used them right off the draft minutes, to put them together.
Oh, okay, good.
And I think we actually have, so there is a couple of
Oh,
old things, but the one thing that popped right off for me is the sheriff. So I will take that on for next week and have a letter to the sheriff outlining what happened at the annual meeting, showing the motion and the vote of the annual meeting, and
Good,
get it going from there.
very good.
is that it? Cause I have something that just occurred to me, if it's okay if I bring it. Okay, backing up to when we get the new generators, you were talking about a space to store them, buying a shed or something. We have the cabana, we've got that, needs to be cleared out, but that got that whole storage space that's just full of old pipes.
I would like to have us come up with a plan of how we deal with that garage space and the storage space down at DPW two. To the point of like the same kind of locks that we have on all the other buildings on that back door. We deal with the pipes that are in there. We get that big old map of where all the isolation valves is out of there and store that as a piece of art in the clerk's storage room up at there. We don't put it into the office,
Okay, I'm just
but
saying,
get it out of that room before.
that's just wasted space right now, so it needs to be considered as something we can use as a valuable asset.
garage door needs to be repaired.
I know, I get that, but I'm thinking that space in the
Yeah.
long run would be a perfect space and be less than
Then we need a plan.
building a whole new structure.
We need a plan to evaluate the state of the cabana and what that is gonna need to keep it
It's in pretty good condition, other than the beams.
scallop fascia.
Yeah, need to be worked on,
Beams,
but they put the new roof on several years ago, like I said, when Doug and I went up, when it was raining cats and dogs up there before we did all the clean out, and it was dry, perfectly dry.
Alright. All set with yours?
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
And so now, non-agenda items, public appearance. Oh, wait a minute, correspondence, P-Parge grant, DES grant.
And you kinda talked
We
about
did talk
that.
about that, yep. With
Okay,
Jeff.
public appearance at 10:35.
Really quick, I know you're up against the clock. Fast update, the loon nest, if you go out, you'll see a duck in it, don't panic. Loon Preservation Committee says that that's pretty normal. The nesting, hatching season for the ducks gets done and the loons can move in afterwards, so, not a problem. Swim rafts, we got the prep done yesterday, we're gonna put them out tomorrow. blowing a gale out there, that was a challenge yesterday. It was white caps on
Yeah.
Big P.
Uh-huh.
Kayak racks, we've got grooming some new volunteers in EPOA. 2 guys are beginning to get around and looking at the racks and doing some repairs, so very exciting that we have some new hands. And looking down the road, I know you've got a million things on your plate, so it may just be me initially, but next month I'm going to get up and clean out and prep the records room, have that ready to go. And you may not have time with everything you got going to, I know there's a couple of key documents we're looking for up there.
Yep,
And we've made a huge dent in it, we've got over 50% done already.
yeah.
And you're talking about the cabana now.
The record
Yep, the
storage.
records room.
In the center of the cabana,
You
all the
should see that
repairs,
sometime.
all the repairs and rebuilding's
Wow.
done, extra
Yeah.
lighting was added, it's a nice workspace now.
Nice.
So that is my goal, to
Yeah.
get that ready in June, and we'll see, if it ever warms up.
Yeah,
44 this morning at ours.
be a little warmer, but, that's something that I can certainly, come up with you up there and start looking for some of the specific,
2 hours a week.
yeah,
something
for
like
some
that.
of the, but to look for some of the specific,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
documents, the old documents that we've been looking for.
Yeah.
Wow.
And get rid of the ones we don't need, there's still plenty of boxes up there that.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
but,
Good, that's it.
that's it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh.
So at 10:37, I'll make a motion to recess this meeting. And we'll make a motion to go into non-public session. And the recess will continue into tomorrow, where we go to a driveway inspection on number 11 Bergdorf.
Yep.
So let's see, my motion is to, let's see, we'll do. We will go into non-public session, come out of non-public session, and we will vote to recess the meeting. So we're on record of doing that while we're in the public session, we just won't take that vote. So I'll make a motion that we go into non-public session under the exemptions for protecting reputation and employee issues, 2 different subjects we're
Yeah.
discussing. That needs a second.
Second,
And then a roll call vote, how do you vote, Nancy?
aye.
How do you vote, Wood?
aye.
And I vote aye to go into non-public session. Thank you, Carol.
Email stuff and I didn't sure I understood everything.
Thanks for doing all that, Doug.